Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Health Transformation Stories brought to you by Evoke Strong. Today I will be speaking with Katherine, who once thought that her happiness would be defined by a specific number on the scale. And this unfortunately led to anxiety and emotional breakdowns, as well as disordered eating. But she's found a new way, found a way to overcome it and is in a much healthier place today. So she's going to be sharing that with us. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Elaine Dusadzina. I'm the host and founder of Look Strong. I believe in order to serve others in the best way, we have to be well in our mind, body, and spirit. And it inspires me to share the stories of this incredible women. And I hope you will also be inspired to take care of your health and well-being. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and bring her in. Hello. Hi, Katherine.
Hi.
It's great to have you here on the show. Thank you for being here and thank you for taking the time out of your day to share your story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love sharing my story. I think it's a great way to kind of give everybody a glimpse into what it really looks like to make a transformation like this. So,
Definitely. And I'm going to go ahead and just quickly go and read your bio. Catherine is a coach. She is a military spouse's healthy habits coach and the creator of Healthy on the Home Front, where she has helped many women transform their lives and create the power to choose what healthy means for them. And she knows that fad diets don't work and that 95% of women fail to achieve their goals because the fitness industry has them stuck in the cycle of diet failure. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Catherine has done away with the all or nothing approach to health and weight loss and has created a program that gives women the ability to create sustainable, healthy habits that are custom tailored to fit their unique lifestyle. And the result is that you gain confidence and self love while losing the weight that's been holding you back for years. And you'll develop a healthier relationship with food and body image and say goodbye to restrictive diets and hello to a life of freedom. That's beautiful. I love that. So, Catherine has a bachelor's in sports and health science from American Military University and has very many certifications: CrossFit Level 1, Precision Nutrition Level 1, Girls Gone Strong Level 1, and the Pregnancy and Postpartum certifications for Girls Gone Strong, and is also a graduate of the National Personal Training Institute. You're very well qualified. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate that.
absolutely.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into your story, and that's you defining happiness with that number on the scale. And I know you had that specific number. So let's start with that.
Um, so I don't know. I don't know where it came from. And I guess a lot of it comes from, you know, our culture. We, as you know, in the United States, we have this idea that healthy is a specific number on a scale. It's a specific pant size, and we're really kind of uh, that's pushed on us at a really young age, and so we start developing these thoughts really young. And I can actually remember. Being, I was probably 10 or 11, sitting in a dressing room, crying my eyes out because I thought I looked so fat in the dress that I was trying on. I mean, if you can imagine being 10 or 11 and feeling that way about yourself, I know I'm not alone because I've heard this same
Mhm.
sentiment from other people. From other women, but this is something that I struggled with from a very young age, and it's something that really followed me throughout my entire, just really throughout my entire childhood and high school and through young adulthood. I had this idea that once I hit a certain weight or a certain number on the scale, and that number was 120 pounds, which for me is completely unrealistic knowing that now. But once I hit this number on the scale, everything would be different. My mental health would be different. I would have more friends. I would be happier. I would be smarter. People would like me more. And it caused me to really go through some very difficult things. As starting in high school, I began the vicious cycle of dieting and, looking to lose weight and taking all of these really unhealthy measures, binging and purging cycles, restricting food groups, not eating for, days at a time. And it wasn't until after my divorce. I got married very young and I got divorced very young. But it wasn't until after my divorce that I really started to have to take a look at what this was doing to me and what it was causing, the pain that it was causing me. And that's really when everything started to change for me.
Yeah, so it started way back when you were a young child. I mean, that would be so 11 would be middle school. Is that right?
I was going into middle school. I remember vividly the dress that I was trying on was for my elementary school graduation, my
Mm.
fifth grade graduation. And so it was that young. It started in elementary school.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of it's like I'm just thinking about how my daughter's turning 10 and the kids that she's surrounded with and I'm wondering if there was some you talked about media and how can that can influence you, but was there something also like in school that may have influenced you too?
A lot of what I started realizing, and especially with the research I've been doing, it does start in school, and it starts at home as well. We see these habits form with our parents, with our moms and our dads. I mean, my generation, the generation that I grew up with, and our parents, everything that all of the kind of education and material that was being pushed out was that diets are good for you and you need diets and diets make you healthy and things like that. So it's not necessarily that it was being done in a malicious way, but it's just that at that time period, that's what was being pushed as the healthy norm for women and for children, even doctors pushing. I remember having a doctor tell my mom that I was overweight and I needed to lose weight. So having doctors pushing that as well, it's something that starts in the school, but also in home.
Yeah, and you mentioned diet. So when they say diet, does that mean food restriction, or do they define it as it's something else, like eating healthier or making healthier food choices? Because I know there's different definitions for diet nowadays. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's more looking at it as as making healthier choices, and I think that's come a lot with now we understand more these things affect us mentally. Back then, I mean, we're talking 15 years ago, even though it seems like it wasn't that long ago, that it's a whole different ballgame in terms of mental health, and the way that we know that it now correlates to the diet industry. But back then, it was, cut all of the food restrictions and don't eat this, don't eat that, all of that. We saw a lot of back then that was the rise of like the low fat diet, the low carb diet, all of these Atkins, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, all of these things. That was right around the time that these were at their height.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So it's like all this messages just being thrown at you, and it gets confusing, and you get lost with all the information. So yeah, you went through a divorce, and this is what set you off to start making changes.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
My first marriage was very it was very tumultuous. There was a lot of unhealthy goings on within the marriage, and when I got out of it, or when we had started the process of divorce and finalized it, I was bound and determined to never let myself um, be put in a situation like that again. And a lot of that came from, I chose to marry the person that I married the first time around because I didn't think that I was worthy of having anybody who treated me in a way that I deserved to be treated. And it was because I didn't, I didn't think that the way that I looked was deserving of love, of somebody who loved me and truly for me. And so when we finalized our divorce, I really decided, this is the end of it. I'm not going to let myself be treated this way, and it needs to start with me, because if I'm letting somebody else treat me this way, it means that I'm not treating myself in a way that's respectful.
Yeah, so that realization, I guess part of it was because, you're maybe kind of just looking at that weight on the scale and maybe defining yourself by that, and it kind of
Exactly.
just, yeah, it goes into the other parts of your life as well. It's just the way you view yourself. So yeah, so now that that you made that, you realize that, like, how did that process of change came about for you?
Um, it started really slowly, and honestly, it started with the idea that I wasn't going to try and hate myself healthy anymore. We have all of these. You see all of these memes and things on Facebook and social media talking about. I just people say that they need to shame themselves into being healthy, shame themselves into working out, and I decided that I was done doing that. I wasn't going to look at it as I'm a failure, so I need to do this. It needs to be, I'm doing this because I genuinely care about myself and I love myself. And I think that right there made all of the difference, because I stopped looking at things like food as a punishment. If I didn't work out, I didn't get to eat. Workouts stopped being a punishment. I found that I really, truly enjoyed exercise for the first time in my life, because I was doing it from a place of love and not punishment.
Yeah, yeah, that whole thing about punishments, that's it's scary in a way, because you said that if you don't, so you don't exercise enough, that means you don't eat enough, but that means you don't eat or feed yourself. Is that how I read it?
So what used to be the cycle was I would base how much I was allowed to eat during the day off of whether or not I had worked out, whether I had a good workout, or whether I broke a sweat during a workout. If my workout wasn't what I considered to be good enough, then I was not, I would have to restrict my food more, because I didn't burn enough calories to earn it.
Hmm.
So it was a really vicious cycle.
Yeah, and breaking away from that cycle was realizing that you love who you are and that you want to take care of yourself. And I'm wondering, like, how that came about as well. Like, how did you, I know you said that you wanted to, it started out slowly and it started right after um, you had your divorce and realizing that you deserve more. And I'm wondering if you talked to anyone, if you read something, like, how did you come about with um, like having more self-compassion?
I think it was a combination of a lot of things. When I got out of my divorce, I was at rock bottom for myself. Like I said, I got married very young. I did not have any life experience prior to being with my first husband. I had dropped out of college to be with him. I didn't have job experience, so when I moved back home, I had to move in with my parents, and I didn't have a job, and it was really hitting that rock bottom place that I was like, I I need I need something else, and it started with me, and it was I started going to therapy, and I started reading more about positive mindset, and how positive mindset can change your life, and it really did. And then it was um, kind of accepting the position that I was in at the time, and deciding that I don't like where I'm at right now, but the only person who is ever going to love me as much as I want to be loved is myself. And so I need to start there. I need to start right now and just work on even just liking one part of myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that self-acceptance is really important, and you learned how to do that as well as that positive mindset. I mean, there's a lot of talk about that nowadays, like focusing on our strengths and keeping a positive mind even while we're, suffering or if even while we're facing challenges, kind of just appreciating what we have and what we can do to move forward. And it sounds like that's what you started doing. And so how did you break from that cycle? Because I know you said you went to see a therapist, and I don't know if a therapist can help you break through that cycle, or is it something that you did on your own? You said that you went through like the binging cycle.
So my time in therapy, it helped me kind of better understand where I wanted to go in life. And I think the really big thing for me with breaking that cycle was, and this actually, it, it happened fairly recently as compared to my journey, compared to the length of my journey. I would say within the last 5 years or so, especially after meeting my current husband, my husband now, I really decided, I grew up in a household where weight and diet and the way you look was talked about very openly and very negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my parents, but it was a very different household and a very different, uh, I guess, a very different portrayal of the relationship that we should have with our bodies and with food than the one that I want to give to my kids. I don't want my kids to grow up with a parent uh, who can't bake cookies with them at the holidays, or who is constantly worried about food or what's being put on their plate. And I want to be able to I want to be able to go out and enjoy life with my husband and with our future kids without worrying about whether or not I'm overeating or undereating. And so that thought right there is it's actually when I'm coaching this to my clients, is what I call their why power,
Mm-hmm.
their true why behind what they're doing. And that for me right there was enough for me to be like, you know what, it's gonna be hard, but it's something that I need to work through and I need to get out of, because it's something that I don't want to pass down to my kids.
Yeah, and like having that experience that it sounds like there's some trauma back, from what you experienced as a child, and that's something that you don't want for your own children to experience. And I can kind of relate to what you're saying about being able to still like bake with your kids and not be so like, oh my gosh, but because sometimes I feel like I kind of get that way because for me, I went through a period where my glucose levels are almost to the pre-diabetic level. So I'm very keen on sugar, but then I'm like, I need to let my kids have fun.
Yeah,
So now I'm just kind of like, they love baking and they love baking championship shows. So I let them just do their thing in the kitchen, and I'm like, yeah, just have fun, have a good time. But at the same time, I let them know that why I'm worried about it for myself because I have that tendency. I have that there's a possibility that I can head to that path where I can become a diabetic if I don't watch
yeah.
what my sugar intake is. So just having that understanding.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, having an understanding, and I think I think there's a balance between having an understanding of how it affects your health, how what you eat affects your health, but
Mhm.
also understanding that pushing it too far can lead to negative
Mhm.
disordered eating habits. And
Yeah.
there really is a balance between okay, I can have this, but I know that it affects my health negatively, so I eat it in more moderation, and
Right.
I practice better, or I practice more mindful habits with it.
Right.
And I think that. that's really what my goal is to create mindful habits. And that's why I tell people, I have the saying, I give you the tools to uh, create the power to choose what healthy means for you. I will never tell you that there is something unhealthy or that something is healthier than something else, because for your life, it might not work. It might not be your idea of healthy, might not be what my idea of healthy is. And so you really need to be able to create that power for yourself to choose what healthy means for you.
Exactly, and I agree with that. Like every person is different, so they define their own version of health, and yeah, so that's great. Yeah, so just leading into what you're doing today, like how did you come about? Like how were you led into like the sports nutrition, or well, not sports, but I mean like being a CrossFit level 1 certified and precision nutrition, all of those certifications. What led you into that?
It started very slow for me. When I first got divorced, my sister decided that in order for me to get out of the funk that I was in, we needed to sign up for a Tough Mudder. And at the time, I was I was completely, I was not into fitness. I had no intentions of working out, but my sister signed us up for this race, this 10-mile obstacle course. And I'm like, well, I'm either going to start training for it and get in shape for it, or I'm not. Like, I'm going to die out there. So I started very slow. I started in my basement with body weights and with, lightweight dumbbells working out. And I found that I really, really love fitness. It was fun for me, and it gave me something to look forward to every day at a point in my life where I wasn't doing anything else. So it became this thing that I started to look forward to. And as I got more into it, um, I started having people ask me questions and ask advice. And I realized that I wasn't comfortable giving advice without having any traditional kind of knowledge about it, because at the time I only really knew what I was learning on the internet, which is the same thing that everybody else is learning on the internet, and it's not very reliable. So my current husband, when we were dating, actually started going to the National Personal Training Institute, and we had just moved in together, and he convinced me to quit my retail job and go to school for it. And so I did. I quit my job and I went to school for it, and just kind of that big leap right there, learning learning everything that I could about fitness and nutrition pushed my love for it even further. And it kind of snowballed from there. After that, I was like I was fully immersed in it. I had a teacher when I was at the National Personal Training Institute who owned a CrossFit gym, um, who convinced me to come in and try a class, which through like I tried one class and I drank the Kool-Aid hard. I was like, this is it. I love it. I can't get enough of it. And so through that, I got my level 1 certification for CrossFit. And then I learned about precision nutrition through another CrossFit coach, got precision nutrition certified, and just kind of going through all these different certifications, I realized that there were so many different paths with it that I could take. And I wanted to learn more and more and more about it. And so that's kind of how that snowballed.
Yeah, it sounds like you have that really good support system with your sister and with your husband, and how that led you to what you're doing right now. And I can, your face just brightened up when you started talking about like CrossFit and how you got there and how much you love doing all of that training. And yeah, and so that's wonderful. And so now you have a program for military spouses, right? And you're the creator or founder of Healthy on the Home Front. Can you talk more about that?
So, Healthy on the Home Front is my flagship program. It's a 90-day course where I basically teach you everything that I have over the past 4 years now that I've been doing this. All of the things that I've found work best for my clients as far as learning to build sustainable habits for themselves, learning to love exercise, learning the mindset that's required to make changes and truly find um, peace with your body. I take you through a 90-day journey from start to finish where we dig into the mindset required and how to build healthy habits around eating and nutrition and exercise and making it work for your unique lifestyle. Because as you know, I am a military spouse, and I don't know how much the normal population understands about the military life, but it is very hectic, and we are moving constantly. You know, we've moved. My husband and I have moved 6 times in 5 years. It's you aren't in one place for very long. You don't have a very solid support system all the time, and there are times where you are alone. And so, really learning how to create that power to choose what to help you in any given situation is important to us.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's hard for military spouses. My husband, I was in the military, but then I became a military spouse. I became a stay-at-home mom while he continued his service, but he's now retired. So I experienced 9 years of being a military spouse, and yeah, it's tough when you're alone and you're trying to figure things out for yourself while with your kids and while your husband is gone. But so your program is an online program, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yes, it is all online.
Yeah, and I like how you break it down. I can't remember exactly the details, but like it's very military termed. I did that. I did that purposely. We start with lace up your boots, which is essentially preparing you, getting you in the right mindset to make these changes. And then we set up base camp with learning the basics of nutrition and with exercise, and then through the third step, which is to create situational awareness. It's all about understanding how your environment plays a role in your health and how you view yourself. And then we go into navigating setbacks, which is, obviously you're navigating all of the setbacks, whether it be, minute deployment orders or PCSing or all of these things that can throw you off course and off your usual plan, how to deal with these. And then in the final phase is where we create sustainable support systems with online communities and within your household, teaching you how to integrate the habits that you've learned in with your family when you have, you have kids and you have a spouse. You don't want to be singled out by having to eat something different or having a different schedule than everybody else. So it's all about really integrating it into the family unit. Yeah, I love that there's different steps to get into that final part, and it's the integration part into the family is very it's I feel it's really important, so you're not creating those separate meals and making more work for you. You just want to make it as easy as possible. Yeah. So just one final question for you. It's just I always ask like what advice would you have for someone who's still in contemplating about making changes for themselves to improve their health and well-being? I think the biggest piece of advice that I would have is to start slow. One thing that I've learned over the last 10 years, 15 years of coming out of this and becoming the person that I am is that time passes whether you're doing something or not. And so you can either take one small step and be one step closer over the course of a year, or you can do nothing and still be stuck. And I always tell my clients, and I always tell people, it's better to be one step closer than it is to be stuck where you don't in a position you don't want to be in. So just taking one small step at a time
it really makes a difference over the course of 15 years. It does.
Yeah, and you've experienced that yourself, so that definitely. Well, Catherine, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to
Absolutely.
speak with you, to share your story, and to be open about it. I'm grateful to have you on the show, and it's a blessing to always share this type of stories to inspire others, other women, to take action to improve their health and well-being. So I'm grateful to you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Most definitely. For everyone who tuned in, thank you. I appreciate you. And we'll have another health transformation story next month. So stand by. I don't have it scheduled yet, but we will have another one. Take care and have a good day. Thanks.